what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Heroes Show, and welcome back to Marvel Wednesdays. We are back. We got Cory, Nick, and Shane here, and this one might be a train wreck because Shane doesn't usually like much Marvel stuff. For some reason, I let him join the StreamYard. We are talking about the first two episodes of the Hawkeye series, which just premiered on Disney Plus very early this morning. Shane, how are you today, sir? Are you prepared to be muted on multiple occasions?
I'm good. I'm excited to join Marvel Wednesdays for the first time.
We'll see
for background, for everyone watching, I am not a big Marvel fan like these two gentlemen above me in the stream. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
We are above you, as in, and we know it. Nick, how are you on this glorious day before Thanksgiving or the Day of Gains?
Oh man, I'm fabulous. I couldn't ask for a better day, honestly. So
yeah, you got the purple lighting scheme going.
Yeah, I got some arrows on my shirt representing Era, good band. Yeah, I'm in it.
This is like the equivalent of Shane wearing stuff for Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it's true. Dressing like Ted Lasso himself.
We've all
we
been.
gotta
Don't
bust
worry.
out that Halloween costume that I did.
That was good.
I dressed, full Ted Lasso.
You were full Ted. Just wait till my Boba Fett helmet gets here, and I review the entire series in my Boba Fett helmet. You guys think I'm joking, but it's literally on its way.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Anyway, so there will be spoilers in this video if you haven't watched the first two episodes of Hawkeye. So go check those out before listening into this review. Before we get started, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help us get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Let's dive right into this. Episode 1 was entitled Never Meet Your Heroes, which is really just a great piece of advice in general. In this episode, a young Kate Bishop, who's the young one's not played by Haley Steinfeld, but the one we're going to spend most of our time with is Kate sees Battle of New York back in 2012 from a perspective we've never seen before. She's saved by Hawkeye. Clint sees himself in a musical. We get to meet Elenor Bishop and Jack Duquesne. There is a very peculiar auction for extremely rich people with some pretty high stakes items. Kate, through a series of unfortunate for her events, ends up in the Ronin suit, and that is how our two main characters meet up. Also, Hawkeye is going deaf. This is based off of the Matt Fraction run of the comics from a few years back. And there's a lot of stuff in here that is pulled right from that, which is really cool to see. But I'm going to probably regret this, but Shane, I'm going to let you go first. What did you think of this first episode of Hawkeye?
Yeah, so I enjoyed the show. The things I like the most about...
Hold on. Say that again.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Just these things
so they're...
oh, wow.
It was... to me, it was very... it kept my interest the whole time. And sort of 1 and 2, I have similar thoughts about. Haley Steinfeld is great. I'll watch her in anything, and she's no different in this. She's awesome. She's the best part of the show. I enjoyed the Rogers musical a lot. That is the best thing. I was dying laughing.
That's funny.
And for those out there, watching Clint's reaction to the Rogers musical is like if you could put a camera on me watching Endgame and everyone's going crazy about everything going on screen, and I'm just sitting there okay, that's me. That's me. My opinion normally on Marvel. So this is why everyone's so surprised that I said I enjoyed this.
the two corners of Nick's lips are sort of backwards. This is how he becomes the Joker.
No, I did enjoy those two things. I guess the only thing I dislike so far about the show is it feels a little bit safe. There wasn't anything that really jumped off the screen at me. It didn't really really pique my interest. I have to keep watching. It's enjoyable. I like the characters. I like the chemistry, so I will keep watching. But it wasn't something revolutionary where I was wow, this is really out of nowhere, out of left field.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. And I think part of that is because everything we've seen with Marvel for the last 3 or 4 years is space and aliens and gods and titans. And now it's oh, hey, some old dude got murdered by a sword in an apartment in New York, and there's a dog with one eye that eats pizza. This reminded me a lot of a less adult version of some of the Netflix shows that Marvel did back in the day, like the Daredevils and the Jessica Joneses of the world, which it's more of a street level thing. And if it's going to be a show about the two superheroes who don't have any actual powers and don't have a ton of tech, I don't think they can be fighting. Hawkeye mentions in one of the episodes, I fought Thanos, but like he didn't really fight Thanos. Everybody else fought Thanos, and he was just kind of there. It feels like they're kind of pulling things back a little bit, but at the same time, this largely feels like a vehicle to introduce Kate Bishop to the world and to have the world fall in love with her, which I think so far mission accomplished. I think she's been pretty fantastic. But Nick, what'd you think of the first episode?
Yeah, I agree with what Shane said. Like it was definitely enjoyable. It kept my attention, and I really liked that both episodes were pretty lengthy too.
They are.
I paused at one point. I'm like, oh wow, there's like halfway to go. I was almost expecting it to end in like 10 minutes. So I'm really glad they actually gave at least these first two seasons enough due diligence with time to sort of get the story and build upon the character. I like the initial setting where we see the 2012 perspective, and it's like Kate says to Hawkeye or to Clint, inspiration. Like, you were my inspiration to focus my entire life at, learning martial arts, learning fencing, learning archery, dressing like you. Purple is like her favorite color, sort of thing, right? And I mean that's really true to life. I mean, it's like I don't go around acting like I'm Wolverine per se, but I often get compliments and saying, I mean, I often get compliments like, hey, you look like Hugh Jackman, and I have a Wolverine tattoo on my left leg. And it's just one of those things where I got that inspiration when I was a kid watching the early 90s X-Men cartoons, which are coming back to Disney Plus in 2023. Hell yeah.
That's wild.
I'm super excited, you can tell. But I like the Rogers Broadway was hilarious. It definitely cracked me up when I was just seeing it. And that one little part in the bathroom when it says Thanos was right.
Yeah.
And Clint just goes, like,
and then the most awkward thing happens, which literally, like, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I've ever been in a public bathroom by myself when there are like 10 urinals available, someone always inevitably walks in and uses the one right next to you.
Yeah.
Why does that always happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I'm like, oh, that's awkward. But again, it's like a true to life moment.
That was the most believable part of the entire episode.
Yeah, he's like, now's not the time. And he goes to wash his hands. He goes, is now a better time? It's like, no, bro. I like a lot of I like a lot of the establishment behind Kate Bishop. And again, Haley absolutely killed it. I mean, she's, I think, gonna have a very successful career, and already has for the most part. Even outside Marvel, now that she's getting into this sort of Young Avengers role here, when she looks back to Kevin Feige when posed that question, which was hilarious. Yeah,
no, you can't.
But a lot of her choices are very interesting too, where her mother says, "I'll wear that red dress, kind of like to be like her," but she's like, "No, I'm gonna wear an all black tuxedo because like I want to be a superhero." And this is something a superhero would wear, all black. And then she ironically gets in the Ronin outfit, which is all black with gold trimming, which was really cool to kind of set that off. And of course, I'm like, how'd they really get the Ronin suit and sword? Because they just found it in the Avengers Tower, sort of thing, like
the rubble from the Avengers compound. I think
which I as much as I love dinosaurs too, the Triceratops skull sold for like $2.7 million, and then the Ronin stuff was like $475 for the sword. And I'm like,
tell me that wasn't the scene from the second Jurassic World film.
They're bidding on a dinosaur. It definitely seemed
right? Except it was 30 seconds long and not half the fucking movie. But
very reminiscent. But I like a lot of that build up, and of course it's like you hear the Russian accents coming in, and
which that stuff is all lifted straight out of that Matt Fraction comic, like even down to the amount of times that those guys say the word bro. Like the word bro is the most commonly used word in that comic.
I love it. They're calling her a bro, like calling bro, like, and isn't it also ironic for Cory and I, because we know and have a friend named Ivan.
And he says bro a lot,
quite a bit.
It is.
He's not
rather
Russian though, but shout out to you, Ivan. Even though I know you don't watch this,
not watching this.
He
doesn't know how to use a computer, so I don't think he's watching the show.
Or works at tech company, doesn't know how to use a computer.
Yeah.
But no, I like how it really comes together at the end of when she's in trouble, when she's surrounded by the tracksuit mafia, and then the real Ronin shows up,
right,
and is like, "Ah, shit, you're a girl, you're a young kid.
Hey, kid, like, you're out of your depth here."
Yeah, like, I like how they, the two storylines just, connected at the end, like an arrow.
Yeah, and there's some cool stuff in here. Like I said, that's either pulled straight from or derived from the comic. So the tracksuit mafia, they're called the tracksuit vampires in the comic, but they look essentially identical. They talk the same way they do in the comic, which is great. Hello, Bevo. Welcome to the corner of Shane's screen.
He's sitting back there.
Speaking of dogs, Lucky the pizza dog.
Yes.
In the comic, he gets thrown in front of a car and hit by it, and Clint sees it, and then Clint takes him to the vet to have surgery done, which is how they meet. So the scene where he's running across the traffic, I'm like, oh no, they're really going to do the thing from the comic where the dog gets hit by a car, but then Kate saves him, which was kind of like a nice little change from the comics. And then what I thought was most interesting change-wise is that the comic starts and they already know each other and they're working with each other. And in this one, I guess it kind of makes sense because the MCU is this like already established thing. They have to introduce you to Kate and give her a little bit of a backstory before the two of them meet up. But there are some cool little differences and some stuff that is extremely similar to the comics, which is pretty fantastic. So let's dive into episode 2. This was entitled Hide and Seek. In this episode, the Ronin suit gets stolen by a LARPer, which only made me think of that movie with Paul Rudd and McLovin, where he has to do like forced visitation rights or else he's go to jail. And then they go to LARP together and they turn into best buds. So Clint has to go retrieve the suit from the LARPing event and do his best to play along. We also, for the first time, I believe, in any Marvel property, we got a proper fencing duel, which was certainly interesting between Jack Duquesne and Kate Bishop. We get some more of the tracksuit mafia, and we get to meet who we believe to be their leader after Clint pulls in Natasha with the whole catch and release thing. So, Shane, I'll let you go first again. Why not? Thoughts on episode 2?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. The LARPing was a little strange. I don't really know how to take it. I mean, it was entertaining, I guess. It was just like I'm watching it like, okay, they're going here now. I mean, I guess the only thing that's a little on the nose to me, and I hope they kind of pivot away from it, is like the typical like the stepdad is the bad guy trope, and like the daughter's the only one who can see it, and the mom has no idea that this guy sucks. And like I really hope that they pull like an Ant-Man and the stepdad is actually really cool, like he's not the bad guy. But as it stands, it's like, oh, I've seen this kind of trope many times before. I mean, aside from that, like tracksuit mafia, it's fine. The reveal at the end, which we'll talk about, is possibly interesting. Although I don't really know much about the backstory there, only that who that is. But I think again, entertaining, not necessarily anything out of this world, but chemistry is good between the two leads in this as well. So
I think that's going to be the driving force for the whole series, is the chemistry between the two of them, which is the way that it is in the comic. Their banter literally flies off the page in the comic, and we've gotten a taste of that. I think she sends him a text about like something about him not having any friends or whatever, and I was just like, that's good. Like it's getting into some of the wittiness that the two of them have in the comics, which is a lot of fun. With the Jack character, I won't spoil anything. There is more to him than meets the eye. But I won't say in what direction that goes in. And if they do what the comics do, it's going to be pretty fun. So, Nick, what did you think of this one?
Go ahead.
No, you're muted. You're done. It's Nick's turn. Damn it.
Yeah, I think it was a good continuation. Again, like that same vibe, that same energy from 1 to 2, and you can kind of maybe view these first 2 episodes as like a mini movie in essence, right? The whole LARPing scenario, yeah, it's that movie with Sean William Scott as well.
He's in it too, right?
Yeah, like I can't think of the name of it, but man, that movie was pretty damn hilarious.
I think it's called Role Models.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yes, great movie. It's just stupid fun. And I think it's R-rated too. But anyway, it did seem a little just out of the ordinary to have in there. Like I don't know if they're just sort of trying to think of scenarios that like almost in a way is kind of trying to humble Clint a little bit more, like, hey, people actually like you and know who you are. That whole branding thing, right? Like this guy Girls is like, oh man, I'm a fan. Like, oh, I can call you by your first name, Clint. I'm Grills, by the way. Again, it's like, yeah, we already know that. But the funniest part in that whole scene was he's like walking through, just mowing people down because like he's an actually
slow motion.
Yeah, and he says it's the distorted goodness.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why that made me laugh, but yeah, I would say as far as Clint in episode 2, his wife isn't startled or like razzled by it all, and we learn that he's got 5 days until Christmas and to not disappoint Lila, and I think from what he tries to do, like pull Natasha in the catch and release, as soon as Kate fell through, I just started laughing, because I think it's just the way Haley just played it off, and just her like subtle humor with it just made that whole scene, and I think it's all, again, like the chemistry between the two. Like we can see Clint being a dad to her, like you didn't clean the wound right, like we need to readdress your bandage and clean it, and I know you're not gonna listen, all right, well, come with me. And I have to say though, her outfit was pretty damn boss.
Yeah, considering she doesn't even really have like an official one yet, but she's already got something. It's
that
cool.
was pretty cool. But I also like that fencing scene too, because she proves that he lied and is hiding something, and it's kind of like you're seeing that trope where it's like, well, like obviously there's more than meets the eye to him, but it's to what stands. Is he good or is he bad?
Yeah. Right.
Or is he in between and just has a different agenda than just being good or bad? It's just like a neutral take on it. But again, I haven't read the comics, so I'm glad like Cory has. So it kind of provides some knowledge base. But I also appreciate that they're drawing from the comics as well, because it does happen, and it has happened in certain points throughout the MCU movies. But there's a lot that's also been altered pretty extensively in some changes. But it was definitely at the end of the episode that was the big like, oh
yeah, that's a big reveal. So for anyone who doesn't want to know, this might be a good time to like click off. But that character's name is Echo. There was an announcement about a week and a half ago that she's getting her own spinoff series on Disney Plus. She has a very cool comic book history that I will not talk about right now because I don't want to ruin any potential wild stuff that might happen towards the end of the show. She's deaf, as you can tell. The one tracksuit fella has to kind of sign to her a little bit, and she's blaring music very loudly, but it's mostly bass, because when you're deaf you can feel the bass frequencies, which is cool. She's played by Alakwa Cox, who is actually a deaf actor. She's also an amputee, which is pretty cool, and this is her first ever acting gig. She got brought on, I think they said she was working at Amazon, so she's the main character from Nomadland.
Wow. I was just thinking of that.
Yeah. So first acting gig, she gets to come in and do this Marvel thing, and then she finds out that there's a spinoff show in the works for her, which is pretty amazing. Nice. I'm very curious to see where that all goes, because usually villains don't get their own spin-off shows. So if that's any indication as to where that character is probably going to head, we shall see. So,
Loki got a spin-off show.
That's true.
Yeah, but he's like, women lust over him, so of course he got a spin-off.
I will say for the sake of her character, who her name is Maya Lopez, right?
Yes, yeah, that's her real name. Maya Lopez.
Yeah, but I like, again, just the accuracy. Well, I'll call it that. Of she's in the comics she's a Native American, and then Laqua Cox is also Menominee and Mohican.
Yep.
So like it's like perfectly fit. Yeah, you did it right. And again, it's sort of one of those things where these characters, a lot of people don't know that exist in the comics, and it's like
I have no idea who it is.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, where a lot of people don't understand that there is the pretty spread out and unique like diversity in the comics, and I really like when they do stuff like this, because it's like, listen, there's like there are characters that people can relate to literally in real life. Like, it's so fitting, because it's like saying, if she were, again, here's where the inspiration comes in. It's like if she's reading a comic and goes, oh wow, this character is deaf. Oh wow, this character is Native American. Holy shit, I'm deaf and Native American. Like, boom, and then she ends up playing the freaking role, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
There's
something to be said about seeing yourself on screen. That
right,
yeah.
and we're getting a lot
more of
in Phase 4 of Marvel in particular. You got Shang-Chi came out the door. Eternals has a ton of diversity. This is doing that. It's cool. I think it's great. And like, I think she had said in an interview, like there was just a random casting call for a deaf Native American actress, and her friends like forwarded it to her, and she was like, oh, I guess I'll just do it off a whim. And now she's in there, which is pretty wild. But one thing I want to loop back on, because it is kind of important to the comic. Nick, you had mentioned talking about how Hawkeye was like teaching Kate how to like fix a wound, and like they're going shopping and doing all this other stuff. The very, 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 very first page of the comic run is like a title card, and it says, this is about what Clint Barton does when he's not an Avenger. Like, that's the premise behind this Hawkeye run, is just him kind of living his life and trying to not be in the public eye. And it seems like this is kind of where that show has started, but it's going to eventually force him into the life of a superhero, but without all of his super buds. So I also thought it was cool when he's all tied up, the camera pans up from behind him, which is the same way they framed Natasha in the 2012 Avengers movie when she's all tied up at the beginning of the film. So it's pretty cool. It's got the Marvel DNA all over it, which these shows usually tend to do, but in subtle ways, which is nice.
Do we want to give one maybe minor detail about who Echo is per the comics?
I would say no.
I don't want to ruin it for
because I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So
I'll just say, like,
Nick, you and I can talk offline about how cool it's going to be.
Yeah, because like we'll say that there were a lot of rumors about possible plot details or characters. Again, rumors, and a lot of times with Marvel, it may or may not be true.
But if it is, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
that's all we'll say.
If it is, it's going to be great, and I think a lot of people will really, really enjoy this show. And I think this could be a show that, as we progress through the rest of the 2/3 of this show, it'll get a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that it's a third over already, and it's
I know.
I feel like I need a little bit more stakes to happen. And so far, it seems pretty low stakes. The stakes are Clint's got to get home to his family in 5 days,
and there's a murder mystery.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a murder mystery as well, although it's not somebody who we really care about, I guess.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
There will be some form of expo dump at some point in the series that will make you care about that character.
Right.
Also, Shane, you love butterscotch, and he had custom-made butterscotches.
Monocled butterscotch.
So one thing that I hate this, Cory, is expository dialogue lines that don't make sense. And that freaking butterscotch line drove me nuts. He picks it up, looks at it, and then says out loud, monogrammed butterscotch. I'm like, you didn't need to say that. Like, you could just see it.
We can tell.
There were a couple others where it's like, you got your black belt at 15. It's like, yeah, she knows that. Or it's like the little line where she's talking about the like rich people and young people think they're invincible and you're both.
Yeah. That's like the Marvel rewrite for the general audience.
Yes.
Campiness.
Yes. Because that butterscotch line was not said on set. It was ADR'd.
Probably.
You just know it was added in post.
Yeah.
And so it's like, some producer saw it and was like, what if we had her say it?
It's possible,
Put her in a closet and have her record the line.
Yes. Yeah. Monogrammed butterscotch?
Are you home?
Again, monogrammed butterscotch. Sorry.
All right. Well, we're a third of the way through this. I think it's going to be a fun little show.
Yeah.
I think it's light on its feet. It's good for this time of the year. I saw someone, I think it was Dan Merle, who did a review where he was like, the family ain't going to get around the Christmas tree and the television to watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of like, it's all about like grief and racism and oppression. Right. And this is a show that's set during Christmas time. Yes, it's in the MCU. It's got some hero villain stuff, but it seems like it's generally pretty light on its feet, which is probably a good time for this show to debut.
See, I want more Christmas. Like, we have the Christmas setting. I want some like straight up like Christmas tropes in this show, and I hope we get them later. Where it's like, like the Ted Lasso Christmas thing, where it's like it's stealing from Christmas movies or shows and putting that in there. I think that would be great. But
yeah, I think we'll get there as we
remember,
we're still 5 days from Christmas.
Yes,
right. We get closer. But Nick, if you had to give these 2 episodes a score out of 10, where are you starting with a 7GN here, or
absolutely not, because I think the things that we reviewed are actually good and not contradicting. So again, when you have Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop instantaneously soar to the upper echelon, it can't be bad. So
those were IGN's words, Shane.
Yeah,
gotcha.
She instantly soars to the upper echelon of MCU characters.
Did they give it a 7?
A 7, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, like the relationship between the 2 characters, which is literally pulled straight from the comic. So adhering to the source material and keeping true to it, that's also meaningful.
7.
Yeah.
It's like Friends.
No, I'm gonna give this an 8. 8 out of 10.
Okay,
solid 8. Yeah.
Shane Shitteron of Marvel, what is your score?
I'll give it a 6, and I don't think that's a bad score. 3 out of 5. To me, it's a passing score. It does what it's trying to do.
Sure.
But to me, it never really hit like super high highs, and I hope we get there. I didn't dislike the show by any means, and I think it'll get better as we go along. But as it stands now, it's just kind of meandering along, and until it really improves from there, I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, it's almost unfair to do rating, a third of the way through a story. But for me, I'm going to say it's probably like a 7.5. You had to do the whole first episode to make the audience understand who Kate is and why she's there, or else it would feel like she was just dropped out of nowhere, and they'd be like, well, who is this person and why hasn't she been part of Marvel for the last 10 years or whatever. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm excited if the stuff that we think might happen does happen. It'll catapult this, and it'll make it one of the bigger surprises that we've gotten from the Disney Plus series so far. So definitely looking forward. Yeah, we're holding off. We're keeping our high scores for hopefully some crazy stuff at the end. Hopefully they'll pull Loki with us and crescendo all the way to the final episode. So that is going to do it for this episode. If you guys have watched Hawkeye, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Tell us if you think Marvel's doing the right thing by kind of scaling back, or would you rather see the big bang cosmic wild alien stuff in more stuff? Shane just said he did the Bugs Bunny meme. No. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Check us out on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram, Real Heroes Show. We have a bunch of other videos that have already posted this week. We have the Foundation finale. We reviewed Finch. We talked about Shrink Next Door. Wheel of Time. Did I miss anything?
We got review coming out for The Harder They Fall.
Yes.
I'll throw something up for Dexter.
Yeah. So
some other stuff along the way.
A lot of stuff to keep you full during your Thanksgiving week. You can gobble up plenty of content from us here at the Real Heroes.
A lot of stuff.
Make sure to check out all those videos. Get excited for everything that is to come. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Happy Thanksgiving.